AI can take maybe sometimes like most human-intensive, laborious, boring part of the creativity and let you with a more fun and cool and creative part of. So I think it's really making creativity more affordable and accessible. And we can even say it's democratizing creativity in a sense.
Picsart, is really, I would call it the kind of a revolutionary ecosystem of creative tools. It has graphic tools, it has pitch deck tools, it has video editing tools, and now it also has regenerative AI tools. Your previous companies have not been in the creative vertical at all.
Yes.
And then you're going to build a unicorn company with a very bold vision of changing creativity on the planet from Armenia.
Yeah, I started in Armenia, but although I was doing multiple international businesses before, yeah, it started because of my daughter actually. My daughter she's an artist, and I decided to create a product for her to make her productive and creative and be.
I wish I had such a father.
Yeah. So as a serial entrepreneur and as a father, I feel a pain for her not to be able to be in a good communities and co-create with other people. So I decided to make a product for her, and yeah, I'm super happy that I took this mission of making everybody creative. So yeah, that's our mission. I want to make everybody creative, and AI is now helping us to do that.
So how, and at one point, the regenerative AI came into the part of Picsart? Was it the part of the original vision, or how it has been evolving? And then, from next, why do you think that AI tools need to be embedded into creative domain?
Right. No, we start AI very early. Already 5 years we were investing in AI, and even AI became such as a big buzzword. We've been, empowering our users with tools like remove background. So you all know, green screen kind of things. When you remove, background, we can actually do through AI. We can remove the background from pictures and videos. And it was, the technology already was available 2 years ago. So we keep investing in the AI for all the last 5 years. And since November, we move all in with generative AI. And we will launch 7, 8, major features, and we are launching new features every month. Why we think AI is important for us? That's a good question. We talked about people losing jobs. I think AI is not going to replace people. AI is going to enhance our productivity. Think about AI as a co-pilot. It's an assistant, it's a mentor, it's a helper, it's an assistant to get jobs done. AI can take maybe sometimes most human-intensive, laborious, boring part of the creativity and let you with a more fun and cool and creative part of. So I think it's really making creativity more affordable and accessible. And we can even say it's democratizing creativity in a sense. So helping people to be creative.
And your monthly pricing plan was?
We have annually it's a $50-ish, but in some countries it's lower. We provide lots of tools for free. Actually, 90% of our features are free, and that's why we grew so fast. We want to make our product very affordable by countries in India. In India, we're charging very, very small fees, for example, or again, 90% of our features are free. So we want to be
so game-changing technologies for free.
Yeah, there are some advanced features which are selling, but we're trying to do the basics to be free.
You're someone with whom we have quite often very fierce debates about the state of the industry. Well, what is AI doing in the the bigger sequence of IP and the way our industry, especially in content, is changing?
Certainly. I think we can all agree that we are hitting this inflection point where the technology itself is better, faster, cheaper. This iron triangle of the magic coming together. And that's fundamentally going to change almost everything that we do on our computers. Just today, all of us can be at least 30 to 50% more productive, whatever you do on your computer. If you're not doing it, you're missing out. what does it mean potentially for filmmaking? That means that in the first phase, everything that we can do, our budgets, on an average film budget, around 50 to 70% of that goes to labor. And if we can make that, at least 30 to 50% more efficient, then we can do much bigger films at the same budget, or we can do more films. That's number one, and that impacts everything, as you were just, Hovhannes was alluding to, from the pre-production to production to post-production and distribution. And if you look like the next step further that, then of course that's going to evolve on also how we all create content. A big leap from the big cameras that cost you 200,000 and very complex to operate. We got to very much simpler cameras that just cost us, $2,000 to get started. And that opened up a completely new canvas of creator economy that we have around us. So suddenly millions of people can enter this. Then. So for example, if you take like TV executives, right, on and overall as an industry, they're outputting around 2,000 shows every year, so they're deciding what goes out. If you take, for example, YouTube as a creator platform, there's 37 million videos every day. 37 million videos every day on that platform. And we're moving to a stage where everything that we see will be generated. We are all going to have a next inflection point that's going to equally have a big impact as YouTube did, where all of us are able to create content. And that ultimately, in the long term, will also change our consumption experience, where we're not necessarily consuming what others create, but everything can be and will be generated on the fly.
You are an AI scientist, and there is this letter of 27,500 at least. What is this really? Are we facing a moral panic, or where do you see the space heading, and how does it intersect or not intersect with what is your vision for Picsart of building this amazing creative ecosystem available for everyone?
Okay, so let me just explain the two aspects of the ethical AI. One concept is how AI was created. So what kind of data sets AI models were using to create these models, and not usually, but the AI became that power because it used a lot of data. I mean, like Stability Diffusion, one of the open source models, they use 6 billion images collected all over the internet. So in 6 billion images, there are lots of artist images and not necessarily like clean images in terms of IPs. And it's a problem, but I think there's a lot of discussion about fair use policy, non-fair use policy. I think the importance of this is going to be diminishing over time. Also, we see more synthetic content generated and more ethically sourced data sets appearing. But the second part of the problem is the ethical use of generated AI. So how we're using this tool. And I see this as this problem is going to be even bigger over time. It's going to affect not only like a group of artists, but everybody, including everyone in this room, myself including you all will be affected by AI one way or another. And I hope in a positive way, but there's a lot of opportunity you will be impacted by in a not so negative, positive way, which, we have a deep fakes is like bad intent, as you mentioned, but also all kind of damage could be created because of the spamming, because of the attacking, because of the writing software, which could be created damage. So it's a very important to understand. It's a very, very powerful tool. It's like a new electricity, and how you are going to use this new electricity, it could create a damage. It could be served to evils. And how we can make sure like there's a border between and we really encourage ethical use of AI models versus evil use.
In the United States right now, we have a labor situation occurring that we're all aware of. This could put a whole segment of the industry out of business. I would love to hear some discussion on that. The other parts are, from an ethical consideration, how do we prevent the disillusion of what we have here going on now on the long term, when you have the ability to create multiple millions of pieces of content, and yes, to your point, the futurist, that the market will sort it out. But the problem is we don't have 50 years to sort it out. And also, to the ethicist, how do we ensure that what we see is ethically sourced? My name is Bill Zook. I'm with 8 Ball Entertainment in the US.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I think the first point around labor displacement is key, and that's happening. There's no need to say that it's not happening, but it's not the first time it's happening to humankind. It's nothing new necessarily. It happened even, take back to the 19th century with typewriter, take to the 20th century with word processors. You have a section, you had 20% of the workforce in the 19th century focusing on writing stuff by their hand. And if you look back at that, using typewriter now seems obvious. Who would go back and start writing everything by their hand? No, it's not a productive way. And we as humans learn new skills and learn new platforms for that, started using typewriters. Same with word processors. If you only think about, continuing as is, then yes, there will be a displacement, and those people will have to readjust, as we humans have to readjust. When calculators came, it didn't mean that we didn't know how to do math. We just could do more math and better math and focus on the things where we humans uniquely can add value.
Hovhannes.
Yeah, I already mentioned, there's the ethical consideration is how it was sourced. I think it's important now. It will be less important tomorrow because of lots of synthetic data already generated, which could be used for a new generation of training, new model training. I think and I agree. I mean, as electricity, as electricity was introduced, it's also taken lots of jobs, right? But you cannot uninvent it, because it's already there. I think the best strategy is to embrace it and to use it as an advantage versus fight it.